I'm gonna try this again. I have tried doing this intro 5 different times, and I'm hoping that 5th time's the charm. Welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. Today's video, we are going to do a fun Christmas project. On last week's video, I mentioned that I wanted to do a little Christmas activity with gingerbread, and it wasn't the traditional like gingerbread house or gingerbread cookies. It's actually a little bit different than that. I need to get my cookie cutters out to do this activity. We are not making cookies. Well, I mean, we are making cookies, but we're not making the traditional cookies. We're gonna do something a little bit different. This is my bag of cookie cutters. I inherited this. This was the bag of cookie cutters that we had when I was a kid. This is an old insulated cup container, and I've just never changed it. Honestly, we've probably had this bag of cookie cutters since I was maybe 10 years old, so I don't even want to think about how long ago that was. I've since acquired some manger cookie cutters. I got these from Hobby Lobby, I think last year, and when I was in Hobby Lobby this year, they still have them available. So if you're looking for like a nativity scene cookie cutters, Hobby Lobby. My mom used to sell Tupperware when I was a kid, so we have all of these old Tupperware cookie cutters. My children will eventually inherit this bag of cookie cutters. Hopefully the bag lasts because it is starting to blow out on the end. I was in Hobby Lobby a couple weeks ago and I seen these cookie cutters and I was like, that is such a cool, fun idea. These are the cookie cutters. So they're all different size cookie cutters. What this is if you like pop it open like this, it's hard to see sideways. Anyways, if you pile all of these together, it is supposed to make a Christmas tree. So I thought instead of doing the traditional gingerbread house and the traditional gingerbread cookies, we are going to attempt to make a gingerbread cookie tree. I have a recipe that I'm going to use. Now, I don't use traditional all-purpose flour anymore when I'm baking. I have now started to grind my own flour, but the recipe that I'm going to leave linked for you guys is actually a all-purpose flour recipe. So if you do not mill your own flour, just follow the recipe. It gives you the directions just to do it with normal everyday flour. But because I grind my own berries, I had to kind of do a little bit of math with this recipe to convert it to a freshly milled recipe. I have literally scoured the internet for a freshly milled gingerbread recipe and there is nothing out there. I am on a Facebook group called Freshly Milled Recipes, and a lot of people have been asking for some recipes for this. I am really wanting to do this video a little bit before Christmas because of the lack of recipes out there for somebody that's wanting to make a cookie for their family that doesn't use their traditional all-purpose. We got our cookie cutters out. Now what we need to do is we need to grind our flour. I'm going to use half and half. So I'm going to use half einkorn, and then I made some pancakes this morning, so I have a little bit of soft wheat available. I want to double check this recipe and actually see how many cookies it makes. In order to do this tree, we need 9 cookies, and some of the cookies are going to be pretty big cookies. Like that's the size of my hand, that cookie. It says it serves 24. So we'll just make one single recipe and hopefully that will be enough. Now this recipe also has quite a bit of chill time, so about 2 hours. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get this recipe completed today. I may have to come back and film the assembling tomorrow with you guys because the dough has to chill in the fridge for a little bit and then we have to let the cookies cool down once they come out of the oven. The other thing I'm quite concerned with that a lot of people have mentioned when they're converting some recipes over for the gingerbread is that their cookies are turning out really, really flat. So when you're converting a recipe from all-purpose to freshly milled, and again, I'm sorry if you guys are just using all-purpose and this is not applicable to you, but for those of you that are actually grinding your own grains, you always want to increase your flour when substituting the all-purpose. So this recipe calls for 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. So most likely what I'm gonna actually end up doing is putting in probably 2 1/2 to 2 3/4 cup of my freshly milled stuff, because you always want to increase it. The reason you want to do that is because regular store-bought flour is very compacted. So when you mill your own flour, it's more lightweight and airy. So you're not getting as much density with your freshly milled flour versus what you're going to get when you're using just a store-bought pre-ground all-purpose flour. So that's why you want to increase your flour. The other thing I want to do is get my apron on before we start. I'm grinding flour, and usually I end up covered in the flour when I go to grind it. So I'm gonna get an apron on. I'm wearing my fun Christmas shirt today too. Sadly, we're gonna cover up my Christmas shirt because I don't want to be covered in flour. So I'm gonna grind approximately 400 grams of the einkorn berries. Actually, I'm not gonna do 400 because I want to use up this stuff that I ground this morning. So let's do maybe 300, and then after we do that, we'll check and see if that's enough. Okay, tear that. Okay, so that's 300 grams of the einkorn berries. There we go, there's our flour. I'm just gonna get my egg yolk ready so it is ready to go. I'm not gonna save my egg whites. Definitely can to use them for something, but oh, there we go. We need to cream the butter and the brown sugar. Now the recipe calls to use a dark brown sugar. As you've seen on last week's video, we made this light brown sugar. I'm just gonna add a little bit of molasses, or a little bit more molasses, because this recipe does call for molasses in it, but I wanna make this brown sugar dark. So I'm gonna add just a touch bit more into this stage as well. We need a stick of room temperature butter, or half a cup of butter. Now my room is cold, so this butter is not super soft. It's almost hard. It's almost like it's been in the fridge because my kitchen is very cold. We're gonna hope it's gonna be fine. Just half it, put it in the mixer. It does recommend to use a stand mixer for this. If you don't have a stand mixer, I'm sure a handheld mixer would be perfectly fine. So for brown sugar, we need 2/3 of a cup. You could also use coconut sugar in this. You could use the stevia replacement as well, like that brown sugar. You could do that as well. And it does say to have the brown sugar packed. If I can open my container, we're just gonna add just a touch bit more of this molasses in here. Let's just add like a teaspoon in here. If you don't have brown sugar, you could do this as well. If you missed last week's video when we made the brown sugar, I'll leave it linked up here. If you didn't see it, I will just briefly tell you, if you do not have brown sugar, you can just take a white sugar, add molasses to it, and mix it together. So if you are making this recipe and you don't have brown sugar, just add some white sugar in here and then throw some molasses in. I would say for this amount of brown sugar that it's asking for, I would add maybe about a tablespoon and a half of molasses to make that dark brown sugar. So we're gonna turn this on. Hopefully you guys can hear me over the mixer. Anyways, we're gonna turn that on and we're gonna cream that until it gets nice and creamy and everything is mixed together. And I'm just gonna stop and scrape down the sides. I have mentioned this in the past about this mixer, is it is an amazing mixer, but when you're doing smaller batches, it tends to struggle a little bit. KitchenAid is excellent if you're doing a small batch. See how it stays in the middle and it's not really getting creamed together? I think I'm gonna change my paddle attachments. These are my cookie paddles. I think I'm actually just gonna put in my whisk just for this step, and then I'll put these back on after, because I really wanna get this creamed together. Scrape down the sides. I'm really hoping this is gonna be enough. If not, we can do a miniature tree. I just won't be able to use the cookie cutters. There, that's much better. That looks pretty good. I let that cream together for about 2 minutes. Now when using this type of sugar, I'm using a organic evaporated cane juice. You're not gonna get the same fluffy consistency that you're gonna get if you're using just a traditional granulated white sugar. It just doesn't happen. The first year I started using that type of sugar, I was so frustrated when I was making cookies because I never got that creamy, fluffy look. And then I realized after using that sugar for years and years, and then reading some comments from other people as well, That is very, very normal for this type of sugar. I've used that type of sugar to make my brown sugar, so I'm not going to get that beautiful fluffiness. Also, the fact that my butter isn't like super room temperature, that's another factor into it not getting super fluffy. All right, next we are going to add our egg yolk. And you just want to add 1 large egg yolk, and then 1/3 cup of molasses. I know I should be using a liquid one, but I'm not. This is what I'm using. One thing I want to add about the molasses, the recipe calls to use a black strap molasses in this. I don't have black strap, I just have old fashioned. That is what I'm using, and that will be perfectly fine. I've used this molasses in the past to make gingerbread, and it works perfectly fine. You just got to use what you have. Okay, so we added the molasses, we added our egg yolk, and then we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract into this. You could also use like a vanilla paste if you have it, or powdered vanilla. I was gonna order the powdered vanilla from Azure Standard, but it's a little expensive, but it sounded really yummy. All right, so we have everything in here. We're just gonna cream this up again. Just gonna scrape down the sides again because it's not grabbing it from the center. I just wanted to add something about the molasses. So black strap molasses tends to be a little less sweet and a little bit more bitter than the old-fashioned molasses that I'm using. So if you want to have less sweet in your gingerbread, then definitely use that black strap. So mine's going to be a little bit more sweeter because I am using that old-fashioned kind. Looking pretty good and creamy. So we need to get our flour ready now. So I wanted to use einkorn and soft wheat. So if you are using all-purpose flour, you are going to use 2 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour in this. We're gonna play around with it a bit. So I'm gonna put in 1 1/2 cups of einkorn flour. And then if I have it, 1 1/2 cups of soft wheat. Soft wheat is really good for using for cookies. It makes them nice and airy. And you notice that I'm actually adding a little bit more than what I'm saying. It's because I'm using the freshly milled stuff that I'm doing that. If I was doing an all-purpose flour, I would be leveling this off with a knife to make sure that I'm getting that in there. But I'm gonna add a little bit more. So there's our flour. We have about 3 cups total flour in here. To the flour, we are going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, then 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm just using a pink Himalayan salt, but you can just use whatever you need to use, or whatever kind of salt you have available. And then we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of ground cloves. We'll whisk this together, and then I need to get some milk out because we have to use a little bit of milk in this as well. I'm just whisking this together before I add it into here. That way I can make sure that those spices are all evenly mixed in. And then we are going to add 1 tablespoon of whole milk to this. You can use a plant-based milk as well, whatever milk you have available. I'm going to mix that in. I'm going to gradually add my dry ingredients to my wet ingredients. So I'm going to turn this on, and we're going to add about 1/2 cup at a time. Wait for it to get all mixed in, and then add another 1/2 cup. And as you can see, I'm making a nice flour mess. So I'm going to turn it off and then add my flour in and then turn it back on again. That way I don't get the poof. The other nice thing about me gradually adding it in is because I'm playing around with the measurements of flour. I'm just keeping an eye on the batter to make sure that it's not looking too wet or too dry. As soon as I see it look dry, I'm definitely going to stop. The other thing when doing a freshly milled flour, and I know this is the case with the bread, I don't know so much about cookies. I don't think it's necessarily the case, but with bread, you need to give the flour an opportunity to absorb some of that moisture. It takes a while to do that. And if I over add too much flour at this point because it's looking a little wet, that may not be the case after it sits for a couple hours, because this dough does have to chill for 2 hours in the fridge. That's why I'm saying this project might take a little bit longer than just a day to do. So it's still looking pretty wet, so I'm going to keep adding it in. So here's our consistency right now. Definitely a good cookie batter. I'm just going to add a little bit more flour in. I don't have very much flour left anyways. I think we're good to add it all in. Okay, let's get this off, clean this mess up a bit, and then we will get this dough in the fridge to do its chill. I'm very tempted to taste this batter. Very tempted. Raw eggs, but you know what? You only live once. I might make it short by eating raw eggs, but that's really good. That is a super, super delicious dough. Yummy. I got some of my dishes cleaned up. I'm just gonna get the rest of this einkorn flour put into a bag. I keep my freshly milled flour in the freezer, and it helps it from going rancid a lot quicker. I mean, it still does go bad, but it just slows down the process a little bit. I can use this to make my bread or pancakes or waffles, whatever I'm making that day. It's nice to not have to turn the grinder on sometimes, because that thing is loud. Very, very loud. Counter cleaned off. So we're gonna get this dough out. Have to go and get my plastic wrap. I do not use plastic wrap very often, so I store it in my laundry room with all my extra baggies because I just don't use it. This is the type of thing that I literally only have to buy once every 10 years. I need a bench scraper because it's pretty sticky. So it has been 2 hours. I was actually just editing the first part of this video and realized that the last part actually ended up getting cut off. So we have the oven now preheating to 350 degrees because we're ready to go on to the second part of making these cookies. The part that got cut off was I formed it into a ball, divided that dough into two, flattened it, and then wrapped it up in plastic and put it in the fridge for 2 hours. I don't know why it got cut off. So we're gonna go to the part of actually cooking these now. You do not want to skip the step of chilling it. If you can actually chill it more than 2 hours, the recipe suggests to do that. It says at the very, very bare minimum to chill these for 2 hours. I've actually made gingerbread dough in the past and then just put it into the freezer at this point, and it was perfect. I was actually able to make gingerbread cookies throughout the whole year. I have my bag of the freshly ground einkorn flour. I'm gonna put a little bit on my counter, and I'm gonna go and get a rolling pin. Choose which rolling pin I wanna use. I think we're gonna use this rolling pin. My husband actually ended up making this for me. This is just a thing that I have all my rolling pins on. It's perfect because I like to have all different sizes of rolling pins. So all he did was he found a vintage Coca-Cola box and he just took the sides of it. It was pretty, you can kind of see here how beat up it was. It was a pretty beat up box. So he just used the ends of the box and then he took some 2x2s, painted them, and then he just put some hooks, like these are just clothes hanger hooks, and just put them on both sides. And this is where I have all of my rolling pins. I do actually use them all, and I love to have stuff that I use on display, especially if it's like pretty looking and antique. So I'm just gonna put some flour also on here. We're gonna get this rolled out to about, I'm gonna say maybe 1/2 inch, because I don't want them to be too flat and crunchy. I want them to be a little bit puffed up for our tree. So that should be good. I can show you. That's about the thickness right there. Lighting's not fantastic. Okay, so let's start out with the biggest one first. Try to use as much space as possible. Oh, you know what I should probably do first? We should probably line our baking sheets. So I'm just using a really big baking pan, and I'm gonna get this lined with some parchment paper. I think I did mention this, but I do have my oven preheating to 350. And this is definitely going to be a 2-day activity because as soon as these come out of the oven, I'm actually heading into town with Steven, and we're going to go and try to get some Christmas shopping done. Really haven't done very much of it, so we're going to go and join the chaos of last-minute shoppers. It's not really how I roll. This year has actually been a really rough year for me. Normally, I love Christmas. Like, it is my most favorite time of year. And I mean, I still love it, But this year has been a little bit rough for me, like really, really rough. I actually didn't even want to film this morning. I was just not feeling it. It's kind of sad this year though, because my kids normally come home for Christmas. Unfortunately, this year, they're not able to come home for Christmas. And we don't have any immediate family that lives near us. Everybody either lives in a different country or halfway across the country on the other side of the country. So we don't have any family near us, and all of our friends are kind of doing their things with their families. So it's just the two of us this year, and honestly, it has been very difficult for me. I'm kind of struggling a little bit. I decided that I'm going to turn the camera on because I love being with you guys. You guys are honestly my friends and my family. And when I'm feeling lonely this season, turning the camera on, I get to spend time with you guys, and it just means a lot to me. I'm also not going to let the fact that it's just going to be a different year this year, I'm not going to let it ruin my spirit, because I can still find the good in stuff. I can still do fun things. So decided to just turn the camera on and we're going to do this fun activity, and I'm just going to enjoy it. It just looks different this year than what it normally is, and that's just how it is when your kids grow older. Sometimes you have years like this, and it's just a new adjustment period for me. Not quite used to it. Anyways, that's a lot of babbling. So with the dough, I divided it into two. So one of these things of dough, I was able to get all of the cookies done. And we're going to hope and pray that these things don't flatten out. So I think when they're all done, we're going to take them like this and kind of pile them all on top of each other. I'm hoping that I did them all. That's why I'm just doing this, to double check that I got them all, because I was chatting with you guys, and yeah, so it'll be kind of like this when they're all done. We're gonna do two of them though, because we have quite a bit of dough. So let me just get them all back on here. Okay, and how long do we need to do these for? This is why I'm wearing an apron. Covered in it, covered in flour. So we're gonna do one cookie sheet at a time, and we are going to put these in for 7 to 9 minutes. I'll probably do 8 minutes and give them a check. Let's just read exactly what it says. Bake one sheet at a time for 7 to 9 minutes, or until the edges of the cookies are set, but the middles are still soft. The cookies might seem undone, but taking them out at this point will ensure that they stay soft once they are cool. She says she typically uses a 3-inch cookie cutter and bakes them for 8 minutes, but the exact timing will depend on your oven. My oven, I've mentioned this so many times before in my other videos, it takes longer than normal. So I'm thinking maybe the 9 minutes. It also says leave them in depending on how soft or crunchy you want your cookies. We want these to have a little bit of lift on them because we're stacking them up. So yeah, I'm thinking 8 minutes is probably good. And then it says let them cool on the baking sheet for 5 minutes before transferring them to the cooling rack. Okay, so let's get this second one rolled out. A little bit more flour on here. So far, I'm liking this dough. It's looking like it's really good. I don't want it too thin because I don't want them to be too crunchy. We'll have to roll it out again to do this one. We might even be able to get 3 trees. There is our second tree. Do you think we'll get enough to do a third tree? Or do we just maybe try to make some regular cookies? I don't know. What do you think we should do? Let's just make some regular cookies. Get our cookie cutter back out. I could save this dough and make cookies later on, but I'd rather just make them all right now. And I can always freeze the cookies too. Steven just got home, so maybe he can help us. So I got 2 Christmas trees done, but we have this left over. So I'm thinking about just making some regular cookies. So maybe you can help me pick. These are going to be too big. We have these huge trees. Yeah, so we're not going to use those.
I'll be the taster.
It's a vintage one, but it's an axe. I have a vintage chicken one also. Love it. Guess what we forgot to do? We forgot to set the timer. Let's see what they're looking like. Oh, they smell so good. Okay, I don't think they're done quite yet. Kitchen timer just went off, so let's give these a check. I don't think they're looking brown enough on the edge. So let's put them in for maybe another 2 minutes. This is potentially a problem. These are all going in together. No. 2 more minutes. I think we're just gonna take them out. Even though they're not looking super brown on the edges, I just don't want them to be rock hard. So we're just gonna take them out. We're gonna let them wait for 5 minutes. We'll put these in and we will set the timer for 9 minutes. That way we're not playing the guessing game. All right, these have been cooling for 5 minutes. Let's get them off onto the rack. These are squished together. This might end up being like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, and that's fine. We love the Charlie Brown tree. Let's check these cookies. I think they're done. Yeah. So these are our Nativity ones. And I want to let these cool down again overnight so that tomorrow when we go to ice them, they're nice and cool and the icing will be good and set on them. We're going to go ahead into the crazy stores. I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why we're doing this. And I'm probably going to say that a couple more times when I'm actually in the store. Wish me luck. We'll see tomorrow. I'll tell you all about it tomorrow. But we will be back tomorrow to get our icing made and then get these all iced and assemble our Christmas tree. So I will see you guys tomorrow to finish this project. So we are on day 2 of the Christmas tree cookie making. And these things kind of flattened out a little bit, but not as bad as I thought they were going to be. Here are all the cookies. I did make a couple of regular ones. This was supposed to be a Christmas tree, although it kind of looks like an arrow. This was a donkey. It kind of looks like a goat. And this was the sheep. So yesterday's shopping was actually not that bad because we went later in the day. I think we left here around maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock. It was not busy at all. And a lot of the stores right now, because of the holiday hours, are open till like 11 midnight. So we went when it was nice and quiet and it was enjoyable. It wasn't chaotic. Ended up finding a couple of stocking stuffers, which was good. Got some stuff done and off the list. We're gonna get started on making the icing. We are going to make a royal icing for this because I want an icing that will act as a glue. And I did some research and it says that royal icing is really good for making things stick. The other thing that I actually want to add about this gingerbread recipe, other than the fact that it is amazing and turned out really, really good, you can make a gingerbread house with this recipe. I know online that there are a couple of sites that have a template to make your own gingerbread house. This recipe would work amazing for that. We actually ended up leaving those cookies in the oven a little bit too long and they are really crunchy. I wanted them a little bit more softer than that, so I probably would have pulled them out maybe a little bit earlier instead of putting it back in for another 2 minutes. But that consistency that we have right now would work amazing for building gingerbread houses with. So if you're looking for a recipe to do a gingerbread house with, this one is great. Just leave it in the oven for the amount of time that we left it in. I guess we're kind of doing a gingerbread house. We're just doing like the Christmas tree version of it instead of the house. So I have my mixer. Hopefully we're not going to over mix this because the recipe does state not to over mix this. You know what? Let's do this with our handheld. I think if we use this, it will over mix it and I don't want to do that. So let me get my handheld mixer out. Okay, so we're going to add 1 pound of powdered sugar, confectioner sugar, icing sugar, whatever you call it. I actually call it icing sugar. So we're going to put in 1 pound and then we're going to put in half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. And then we have half a cup of room temperature egg whites. I ended up saving my egg yolks. I'm going to use them tomorrow to make an omelet with. I'm really wishing that we would have saved the egg white from yesterday as well, because then we would have had to not break another egg. But we're going to add half a cup of those egg whites into this powdered sugar. And then the recipe says to turn the mixer on high and beat the icing until it is a bright white with stiff peaks. It says if the icing is too soupy, to add more confectionate sugar, 1 teaspoon at a time. And it says do not add too much icing because then it will be too hard to work with. We're gonna add a little bit more sugar to this because I think I had a touch bit more than half a cup of egg whites. So I'm gonna add a tablespoon, maybe we'll do 2 tablespoons of icing sugar. Did have quite a bit more than half a cup of egg whites. Now let's give it a check. Nope, that's a soft peak. So go a little bit longer, maybe 2 more minutes. My magic number of 2 minutes. Okay, let's check and see now. There we go. That's good. Feels like meringue. Like that's what we just made. And we'll get some plastic wrap put on this, and it says to touch the surface, that way a crust doesn't form on it. Just trying to find all of my icing stuff. Found them at Goodwill. Disposable icing bags. I can leave this stuff linked for you on Amazon. So I'm gonna use that, and then I found this. I think I got this Goodwill, $2.99. It is a decorating kit, and it has all different types of tips in it. It's pretty much brand new, like wrapping is still on it. So which tip do we want to use for decorating? I think a nice delicate tip. I have a lot of cake decorating stuff because in my younger days, I used to make vegan cakes for people. It was a very long time ago that I did that. We'll try this little delicate tip for decorating first. I guess what we'll do first, assemble the tree. So I was gonna do 2 separate trees, but I think what I'm gonna actually end up doing is just doing 1 bigger tree. That's that one. We will take a little bit of this icing and we're gonna use it as some glue in between to keep these stuck together. Place that on like that. I'm gonna like diagonal it. I'm not gonna place it directly on top. Bring you guys down here so you can see. Now, if you really wanted to get fancy, you could take some food dye and you could dye this green, and then you would have a beautiful Christmas tree color. But we're not gonna get that fancy. I'm gonna try to do a nice thick layer. That way the Christmas trees kind of pop up a little bit. Maybe put it on the bottom, see how that works a little bit easier for me. Ooh, it's starting to lean. Maybe we need to push down a little bit. Maybe less icing. Oh no, it's leaning, it's leaning. Look it, we have a tree. We have a wobbly tree. Too much icing in some of the layers. We will let that dry a little bit. Look it. But I think that is such a cool alternative then to making a gingerbread house. Alrighty, so I have all my sprinkles here. Now, unfortunately, these are got some dye in them. I haven't converted all of my stuff to dye-free yet. I know that Walmart actually has some really good dye-free options now. So if you want to have that option, check Walmart out. They're not too badly priced. I'm going to fill my bag up with some icing. Now comes the fun part. Decorate these cookies. You definitely can add some food dye to this icing. Another really cool thing that you could do with this icing is you could add some extract. So whatever type of flavor you want, if you're looking for like maybe a peppermint flavor, you could add some peppermint extract. I don't know what other ones would be good for the Christmas season. So I'm gonna add a little bit of this green sugar. I'm not a cookie artist. I'm not a baker. This is just something fun to do to boost my spirits. You know what would be really cool? I have a a star one. It'd be really cool if we could put the star somehow on top of this tree. I don't know how we would get it to stay though. I don't think it'll work out. Let's give this cookie a try. I just put a little icing on it. Let's try it. You honestly cannot tell that you didn't use all-purpose flour in these. This is amazing. Definitely saving this recipe. This is so good. Yay! Maybe we can put some green sugar on our tree. I'm making it kind of a mess. That's okay. There we go. That is our masterpiece. I don't know if it's really a masterpiece, but it's our Christmas tree. It would be really cool to figure out how to put a star on top of that. So that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I also want to say I went to my P.O. box yesterday and there was some beautiful Christmas cards in there for Steven and I want to thank you guys so much. It made my day yesterday, especially because I was not having the best day. It really made me feel so nice and special to get those Christmas cards for you guys. So thank you so much. And I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, and I hope you guys enjoy the holidays, and I hope everyone gets to enjoy some time with their family or friends, or just do something special and just enjoy the holidays. So thank you guys again for watching, and I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys.